Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of In the Driver's Seat with dubizzle. Have you just got your driving license and do you want 50% off and expert advice? We'll give it to you. Plus, GM have two new cars in the market, the CT5 and the Acadia. Well, the Acadia is now much longer than it used to be, but is it worth the money? And last of all, if you need help buying a car, we're here for you. Now, with all that out of the way, Fouad is back off his lovely holiday, and he's bought a BMW. Can you believe it?
I actually did. I bought a BMW, guys, 320, 2007, but it's back in Lebanon, so it's for the family.
Still, you bought a car.
It's my first BMW, do you know that?
You went away for a week. What?
Yeah, it's my first BMW. Like my own BMW.
Like
my dad had like 4 or 5 BMWs, but yeah.
You told me you've had a couple of 2002s.
Yeah, 4 of them, and one 320, 1982. And one 325, 1991.
Oh man, those are gorgeous.
But those are all bought by my dad. This is my first, my money I purchased this BMW.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Shake your hand from over here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope the car is treating you well. I was surprised when you told me that you showed me that it was black. I thought it was going to be white. But I don't know, just stereotyping, I guess.
Fair enough.
White
no,
BMW.
my color is black. Both my cars are black.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm actually surprised it's your first BMW. I would have thought you'd have many in the past.
No, to be honest, like I love BMWs for a long time, but I also look in how much I'm using the car. Now back home, BMWs are famous, and I wanted a car that's reliable, 4-cylinder car. The 320, I think this is when they started the 2006 is when they started the 4-cylinder engine, because before in the older model, not the E90, it was a 6-cylinder 320. So this is when I wanted, something economic and yet durable, a little bit fancy. So I chose BMW.
Now you're losing me with these model codes, but I'll figure it out. The only one I remember is F10, and that was the M5.
The M5,
the V10.
The V10.
That's the only reason I remember that code.
F10.
So to start things off here, we have a new service just for you. Now, actually combine two pieces of news here because we have a new service just for you. So if you need help in buying your first car, or you just need help buying a car, you can get advice from the experts here at dubizzle Cars. That's right. You can choose up to 3 cars that you want to have inspected. You can have those cars inspected up to 120 points. If you want additional ones, you can get 240 as well. We have stuff like free home delivery, competitive rates on finance and insurance, plus transfer assist, and so much more. That is a brand new service that we've launched, and you get advice from people like us. And no, I'm not going to convince you to buy a Volvo, because believe me, I know there are cars out there that suit different people's needs.
Probably will convince people to buy a Volvo. But you know what, Chris? This is a very good service, actually. This is especially a good service for people who are new in the country, for people who don't know what they want. They need advice, They want an inspection on the car without going to view it, That's why we're providing 3 free inspections, 120 points. And if you go for the gold package, you get 240 inspection also for free. So if you're new in the country, you don't know what to choose, there's a professional talking to you, there's someone who knows about cars, advising you of what you want. So this is perfect, I think, for newcomers, especially in the country.
And like Fouad said, we have 2 packages. We've got silver and we've got gold. And if you've just got your driving license from Galadari Driving School, well, we have a deal for you. You can get up to 50% off. Better yet, not up to, you're going to get 50% off our Buy a Concierge service. And that's going to help you make the right choice to buy the right car for you as soon as you get your license. I wish there was a service like this when I was growing up, because then maybe I wouldn't drive a Volvo. Maybe I would drive something different.
You would change from Volvos.
Never know.
I'm selling you a BMW.
You're going to sell me a BMW?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the station wagon, the 5 Series, the new one.
Which one, the i5?
Station wagon, yeah.
We're not getting it here.
We're not getting it?
We're not getting it. And we're not getting the new 5 Series. It's only going to be for fleet as well, from what I've been told.
To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the new 5 Series, but yeah. But I wanted to sell you a BMW. That's the idea. So let's see about that.
Let's see. Which one would you try and sell me?
A BMW?
Yes.
I think a 5 Series would fit you well.
You think so?
Yeah. And they have some station wagons of that. Right?
They do. The 5 Series, the F10 code that I mentioned before, there was a variation of that as a wagon.
And the new one as well, I've seen.
The new one, yeah. There's a new shape for it, but unfortunately,
so you got a station wagon?
I don't work for Emirates, so I can't get it. Wait a minute.
Is it only for Emirates?
Well, I would assume because a lot of them are fleet sales, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
You don't see them come up very often. There's very few that are privately
I don't think
driven.
there's high demand on station wagons here in the country.
Of course not. That's the dream, and it's gone. It's shattered. Disintegrated, gone. There's people like me, and there's a group of enthusiasts that I realize out of all the groups that I'm in, I think they're the smallest group. And everyone has a BMW or a Mercedes in that group.
It's actually one of the most selling car in the country in the UAE.
The BMW? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Honestly, it's the 3 and the 5, isn't it? That they sell their hotcakes. Everywhere you go, people are buying them left, right, and centre. And not just the new ones, by the way. They're buying the old ones as well.
Yeah.
They made some really good cars, I'll be honest here. I had my eyes on a 528. I think it was a 528i Touring.
Oh, cool.
I think it's called an XI because it was the
XI
all-wheel drive
all-wheel
version.
drive, yeah. the X-Drive.
It was a pretty good car, but the only problem was the price tag. It was pretty hefty for a car that was built, 2000... What was it, 2013 or something like that? I didn't want to pay 50K for that.
It goes up to 2017, the same shape. 2016 or 17.
Kind of like that shape.
Yeah.
It did look quite nice.
Yeah, they did.
Now, moving on from our buy concierge and our chat here about Fouad trying to sell me a BMW. Don't get me wrong, there are BMWs out there that I do like, by the way. I love the Batmobile. I don't know if you remember that. The CSL. The 2002. I've got a soft spot for that, and I'd love to own one. Especially in orange.
There is a new CSL.
Really?
M4 CSL.
Oh, I can't afford one of those.
Man, it's selling for over $1 million dirhams, the car. Oof. It's crazy expensive.
Jeez.
And you're talking about almost 600 horsepower on the, so it's much more advanced and lightweight, because, you know, CSL stands for lightweight, right? So it's much more lightweight than the M4 competition even. And yeah, they're saying it's very good performance.
Well, there is an M3 wagon as well. Can't forget that.
Really?
We've got to stop talking about BMWs now. I'm getting invested in this stuff too.
So yeah, I'm halfway there. I'm halfway of selling a BMW.
We'll have a whole episode just dedicated to BMWs. We'll just talk backwards and forwards, and then at the end I'll be like, I'm still not going to buy one. I will
still buy a Volvo.
I will probably buy one eventually. Don't get me wrong. There are some out there, but we can talk afterwards about this.
Cool.
But there are two new cars that are entering the market here in the United Arab Emirates, and both of them are from GM.
Yeah. So we have the GMC Acadia, which they say it's a longer, taller, and wider. So they've made the car very big. And there's also the trims of the car, and the Denali apparently is getting some noise cancellation that's amazing with the Bose premium surround system as well.
And you were telling me the 84 version is also getting an upgrade.
The 84 version is also getting an upgrade for the off-road capabilities and stuff.
So I actually really like the GMC Acadia. I drove one back a couple of years ago, just after Corona, just before Corona happened. It was kind of that facelifted version they brought in.
Yeah, the facelift, exactly.
I really, really like the car. It's very spacious, very comfortable. The only thing I didn't like was the gearbox. I don't like what we're doing yet. I don't like that with the gearbox, because honestly it looked like a tape deck, you know.
It's a little confusing. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a little confusing.
But I understand from a point of view it is somewhat easier, because you just simply press the button and then your gear changes.
You know, my favorite gear selector is with Mercedes, and that's why Tesla took the same gear selector from Mercedes. Yeah, it's just a button for P, and it's just up there. It leaves you all the space in the compartment beside you, so it's perfect, I think, right?
It's like an old American stick shift, isn't it? The ones that are at the top.
I actually like those. I really like those. The manual is very hard to go with, because you don't know where's the first gear and second gear, and you get a little bit lost. But with the automatic, it's pretty easy, man.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. Actually, that's a very valid point. But otherwise, the car was very good. I really actually enjoyed the GMC Acadia. Can't wait to have a test drive in it as well at some point.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Now, there is another one that's come out, and as we said before, it is a GM product, and this is now the Cadillac. Which one?
CT5. So as you know, we reviewed, I think, back then the CT5 Blackwing with Chris, and it was a beautiful car.
What a car that was.
It was a beautiful car.
If only I had the money. And if only it was a wagon.
If it was a wagon?
Yeah.
They don't have wagons.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
The last one we got was a TTSV wagon.
CTSV, oh.
Yes.
So the V back then was a 650 horsepower. So this car actually is pretty much the same of the old one. The biggest difference is in the interior and the screen, or the infotainment system as they call it. It's changed a lot. It has all the upgraded apps as well. And as usual, Cadillac fitted with the rear view camera, which turns into a rear view mirror, which turns into a camera. And pretty much the outside shape of the car is very close to the old one. But so it's a beautiful car.
What I really like about Cadillac and the CT5 range is that all the cars are basically the same. The only difference, obviously, is the engine. And there are some minor tweaks to the exterior and then options as well. But otherwise, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a base CT5. Can you really call a Cadillac a base?
There's no base. There's no base. The base in Cadillac comes with a full option almost.
Exactly. You've got the 2 litre, and then you go all the way up to the 6.2. Is it
6.2? Yeah, 6.2.
Unfortunately, I don't think Cadillac's going to retain the 6.2. I don't know if we're going to get another CT5 Blackwing. If we do, yes, amazing. But no one is buying them, unfortunately.
Is it not?
You don't see many on the road, unless people are keeping them as garage queens.
Yeah, probably if you're getting that car, you don't want to drive it every day, right? Because you don't want to put so much miles on it.
Actually. I didn't think about that. So there's probably a couple of them knocking around here. I know there's a white one somewhere, and the blue one is the test one, but I think there's also a blue one that's also privately owned.
Yeah. I saw a red one, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, that looked good.
I don't know if it was a red, if it was a Blackwing, or if it was a kit of the Blackwing.
Oh, can you imagine a red CT5 V Blackwing, red with a dubizzle flamehead logo on the side of it? That will look really cool.
That will look really cool.
Company car, we need it.
If anyone has it,
Let us borrow it. We want to put the flame head on the side of it. We got through that rather quickly, so that's going to give us more time now to take on the challenge.
Play our game.
And we now have 6. Apparently, I've been informed that there is one in here again that I don't know anything about.
Oh.
So something in here is going to be extremely obscure.
More obscure than it actually was.
So you started last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so I'll do the
So you
honors this
start
time. And then after this, we're going to get into our spotted on
Spotted
dubizzle
on
as well.
dubizzle.
Right, so I'm going to give the cup a good shake around.
ASMR.
Hey, that one
And
came
it
out.
flew. It flew out.
It flew out.
So
Did I
it wants
get-
you.
There
It
you go.
wants you.
It does. It's probably going to be
Let's see.
It's going to be
The
a
most obscure
Citroen
car.
DS. Watch this. And it is. Oh, this one's too easy. It's a Nissan GTR Nismo.
Oh.
Obviously, the
It's for
Nissan GTR was the successor to the legendary
Skyline.
R34. It's commonly referred to as the R35. The GTR Nismo version, obviously, is the uprated one, but it's not the most powerful, is it? I think the Alpha is the most powerful.
I think so, yeah.
Interesting fact about this car is that every transmission is unique to the car. You can't just buy another one if your car breaks and get a new transmission from that car. You actually have to get a whole new transmission made.
Yeah.
And by the way, these things actually float around for a decent price. Okay, the US imports the cheapest. I saw one for 99,000 dirhams once, and I was very close to buying
Which
it.
year is that?
It was around the time they started to first come out. I think it was in 2006, 2007.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, for a GTR, that's dirt cheap.
That's very cheap.
I've never seen it again.
Because
Though.
the Skyline, the old one, you won't get it for that
Oh
price.
yeah, they trade for
They're
stupid
selling
money.
for huge amounts of prices, especially after that movie, The Fast and Furious. Yeah.
And of course, now that they're legal in a lot of countries, including here, that you can legally import them as classics, the prices are skyrocketing.
Why was this car illegal, by the way? It was illegal in so many countries, the Skyline, not the GTR, the old one, the R34.
So I think because the Supra is also banned, I know here anyway. I think it was the tuning capabilities that people were
Because
basically
we can
just
get
tune
up
so
to
bad.
over 1,000
Exactly.
horsepower, yeah, and then
So-
the normal turbos you can get to 500, 600 horsepower, and you don't have the brakes to support it. Probably that's it. Right?
Exactly. So obviously the government around the world put safety measures in to stop people from doing that,
Fair enough.
just to keep the public safe. Your turn. I wonder if that was the most. That's going to be the most obscure. Watch this. Next one's going to be like an MG Rover.
What's an MG Rover? This is Rough CT3 Club Sport.
Oh, okay.
What's a Rough?
Oh, I'm not good with the names of the roof though.
What's a roof?
So its roof is basically a Porsche. It's a tuned Porsche, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
There's a very it's great.
And CT3 Club Sport.
I always have interesting stories for this. I would assume with the CT3, this is probably a enhanced version of the GT3, judging by the name. I guess is that the one, Hussein? I know you're watching this somewhere, Hussein. You did it again. Anyway,
Yeah.
so there's a very interesting story.
And I always pick them.
I'm probably wrong with this one. The only one I remember is the Yellowbird CTR, and that's a very old car. Interesting story about roof though. If you're an avid gamer or if you're a hardcore gamer and you really like the Need for Speed series, there was a license in place that no one could have Porsche in their video games. I think Need for Speed eventually got it, and the only way around it was to have roof involved, because in Germany, roof is an actual vehicle manufacturer.
Really?
Yes. So that's how a lot of people that are in the car world or played video games know about roof. Otherwise, you wouldn't know too much about them.
Yeah, I think I've heard the name before, but I didn't know that much. Especially this car, I don't know.
So probably the way you would have heard about it is because their engine is used in the Lykan Hypersport.
Oh,
They use
the
the
Lebanese car.
Yes. That your Kabayan.
You're my
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Okay, this one next. The Aston Martin Signet. Do you know what this is?
I think I've seen it before.
Okay. Because we actually talked about this previously, and I think this actually came up before. Do you know what this is, though?
I'm not going to remember.
What if I told you this was a Toyota? Did you know this is a Toyota? Did you know this is a Toyota? So this is a rebadged Toyota IQ.
Okay.
So this is an Aston Martin with a 3-cylinder engine that's about the same size as my shoe. They put a V8 in this at some point, and it was ludicrous. But
Originally from Aston?
Yep. This is a factory-built car from Aston Martin, and the reason they had to build it was for emissions. Because the EU emissions went, you're creating cars that are too pollutant of the environment. You need to
create
build
it.
something that's not going to do that. And they said,
Three-cylinder
okay,
Aston
fine.
Martin.
And it was a massive flop for them, by the way. They probably sold about 80 of them, if that.
If they sold any.
There is one here, I am aware of it, and I've seen it and I've sat in it. It's such a surreal experience sitting in this thing.
It's such a small
I've
car.
I've not seen the V8 version. I don't think that exists here. I think that was probably a prototype as well. But
They made two of the V8
it's
version,
just
probably.
so bizarre.
The idea by itself to find an Aston Martin 3 cylinders is bizarre.
Yeah, and an Aston Martin that's the size of a shoebox. Because
Exactly.
Aston Martins are very spacious, they're very luxurious, they're very opulent. You know, they all have this very beautiful styling.
Yeah.
Next car, I wonder what this one's going to be. I'm waiting for the VX220 to pop up or the Speedster. Come on, give me a Daewoo.
Range Rover Evoque convertible. Okay, that's
Oh.
a nice car. So, you know, we all know the Range Rover Velar and the Range Rover Evoque. The Evoque, they made it a smaller version of the Sport. It kind of looks like the Range Rover Sport. I think they first made it in 2013,
Gotta be
2014,
something
something
like
like that, around that era. And they made a version which girls just went crazy for. And that's the Evoque convertible. So it's actually an SUV which is convertible, and it's a soft top.
Bizarre.
It is
Absolutely
bizarre. When you look at it, you're like, what's happening? It shows on the street. But people went crazy for this car, by the way. It sold like crazy. Like, we had one, I think, in dubizzle last year. It sold within one day.
The white one?
The white one, exactly.
There are a handful of here that I've seen an orange one. Did you know that someone in dubizzle actually owns one?
Really?
Yep, and they drive it as well.
Nice.
Yep, there is an actual one within the company.
Within the company.
We must
Cool.
get a video with it because
should.
it's honestly it's one of the most bizarre cars ever made.
It is.
Did you know that Nissan made a version of it as well, of the Murano?
No.
They made a Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet. Nobody bought it, by the way, because it was only for sale in America.
The Murano alone it's an ugly car.
Yes,
So
they decided to
you
do
made
that.
an uglier version
And
of an ugly car.
They
so.
came in. I think they came in two colors. It came in orange and teal.
Teal.
Yeah. Okay, I've got my last one here.
All right.
Cadillac CTSV. How convenient was that popped up?
CDS or CD5?
I think it looks like an S. Yes, it is. So
S.
the CTS obviously was their flagship sedan for a long time. The V version, or V spec, however you want to say it, was their hardcore variant of it. And yes, they built a wagon, and it came with a 6-speed manual. And one came up recently for sale, not here. One came up for sale in the States.
Yeah.
How much was it? I think it was like $50,000 US.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it came in brown.
It was a
Very
nice car, the CTS.
Supposed-
That's why it's the successor of it is the CT5.
And there's a supercharged version that went, 600 horsepower or something ridiculous like that?
The V.
And, it was the V that was
It
supercharged.
was the V that was supercharged because the Blackwing they only introduced it in the latest version. So they made the V is a 3.06 cylinder and the newest model is 2020 and above. And the V Blackwing is a 600 horsepower, which is the V8 supercharged.
The Americans just do it differently.
Yeah, they
That's
do it
it.
differently.
Okay, so the last one is for you.
The last
So,
one.
how many is that?
I'm shaking.
I've got 3. You have 1.
One.
Yeah.
Polaris Slingshot.
Oh.
Polaris is the car that looks like a, what do you call it?
A trike?
It's like a buggy. Yeah, it's like a 3 wheels as well. No, actually, it's 4 wheel.
No, you're right. It's 3-wheel.
3 wheel.
You're thinking of the
Correct.
Crossback.
Yeah, exactly. And it's without a roof, and it's made for off-roading, and you find it very bizarre. You see it a lot in Dubai. I've seen, I think, 4 of them or 5. And it has a hefty engine. It's a big engine for such a car. I think
What
it's a
is it?
4-cylinder engine. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a turbo in that engine. I'm not sure. If you know more about it, let us know in the comments below. But it's a very nice car. It's cool to look at. It handles very well, but it's a little bit rough while you're driving it on the street because a little rigid, the suspension of the car.
So, of course, every time we do this, we test our car knowledge to see how well we know cars. It seems that was a good even split, actually, there. I think we only got one wrong.
I got one wrong, yeah.
The roof. Yeah, I got caught out by that as well. If it was a yellow bird, I would have known, but the other one, not great with these ones. But of course, before we go, we have our segment where we spot things on dubizzle.
All right.
We spot an interesting car that we found for sale. Now, for what have you found for 3 million dirhams?
I spotted 3 million dirhams.
Yeah.
No, 3 million dirhams. This
Okay.
time I actually spotted a very nice car.
Is
a
it
car that I was
budget-friendly?
thinking of buying it myself. It is budget friendly. It's
Okay.
around 138,000 dirhams. And it's a 2023 Subaru BRZ, blue color.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, I own a Toyota GT86, which means this is the successor of my car, the newer version, which comes with a 2.4 liter engine, while my car came with a 2.0. It's still a boxer engine. It's still naturally aspirated, no turbo. Interior is very close. A little bit of changes in the dashboard. Newer, it has lane assist and stuff like that. But the looks of the car is what changed a lot. I love the front of the car, especially the one we have, the blue one. It comes with an STI kit, which changes nothing but the looks of the car, basically. So the interior, the suspension, everything is the same. You can see the lip, the carbon fiber spoiler, and it's gorgeous. I was thinking of buying it myself.
I'm on the other hand of this thing. I was never a big fan of them. I liked it at the beginning, and then I found out there was no turbo, and I was like,
look, I understand.
This car needs a turbo. They should have put a turbo in it. I don't understand why they didn't.
Let me tell you why not. Because this car is about handling. The Boxer engine was put into this car to mount it lower, so it would make it very agile. And it's mostly a drift car. People use it, they tune it, and they put a turbo and drift with it. But if you drive it as it is, and I've driven it for 4 years now, the 86, and it's a little bit underpowered. So where you're talking when you're going to 3,500 RPM to 5,000, there is no pull there. And this is why the people that put the turbo on 3,000 RPM to give you the pull back. But when you drive in this car, when you handle, you take corners at such speeds like you can't imagine you're not in a Porsche. It's that low the mounted the engine, or not in a Ferrari. That's how low it's mounted and how beautiful it handles.
So I wanna ask you something.
Go ahead.
Can you name every model name of that car?
The 86?
Yes, because it has at least 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Like the model, the serial numbers and stuff
No,
like that?
no.
What?
Like, so you have the 86 from Toyota.
Yeah. You have the Scion FRS.
Yep.
You have the Subaru BRZ. That's 3.
It had another name in another country. I know
the Scion FRS was one of the names in the US.
In the US, yes, and it was also called the 86 in the US. I think it was called the GT86.
GT86.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, in one market it was called the FT86.
FT86, yeah,
and I
exactly.
think there might even be an AE version of it as
AE.
well, because
No,
obviously there's
that.
the A86 from long ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, people were banking on that. I'm pretty sure the FT86 exists. I'm not sure about the other one though.
Fair enough.
The car that I spotted on though is. I found an SUV for once.
Oh.
I'm not big on SUVs. There are some that I really do like, but this one in particular I really do like. This is the Ineos Grenada. Looks very familiar, doesn't it? It looks exactly like a Rolls Royce. It looks exactly like a Land Rover Defender.
True.
And that actually got them into some hot water. But that's a story for another time. This is a very interesting car. I think it's really cool. Expensive. It's listed at 330,000 dirhams, which is a lot of money, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really cool car. I got to see this car when it was in the testing phase for it, right? And we were supposed to shoot a video with it. But unfortunately, because it's a test mule, there are some things, obviously, that are not final. And in the final car, they had this massive red button in the middle of it. That basically, it was a kill switch for the car.
Okay.
And I think that's so cool to see something that big inside of a car. Just and the car just... that's it, gone. But of course, Ineos Grenada is coming to the UAE. I think this one's actually judging by the pictures, is a Euro spec. But it is actually officially coming to the UAE,
Okay, cool.
which is really, really cool. But this car itself it's so cool. Would I buy one? Probably. Would I be able to afford one? Definitely not. Got to save it for the Volvo somehow.
Gotta save for the Volvo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sell you the Volvo beside my house. I spotted a Volvo beside my house. I don't know what it is, but we'll see. We'll manage to make him buy it.
I'm pretty sure it's got to be a V40 or a V60, like you said.
Probably V40 or V60.
And what if it's a V70? It's not going to be an R.
I thought we were gonna sell you a BMW. Why are we back to Volvo?
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, next episode, Fouad's going to sell me a BMW. Tune in for that one. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, if you want to know any more about the subjects that we discussed, or even our buyer concierge service, check out the Dubizzle Cars blog. You can find that on the website, right at the bottom of the page for Dubizzle Cars.
Thank you. Very nice.